Today's AskReddit post. What's something that was designed for the use of one sex but is now predominantly used by the other? Oh boy, this is gonna be a good one. Let's get started. My hoodie apparently. I had to borrow my hoodie from my friend the other night. Just not right. It's just so much more comfy than using your own hoodies. I really don't know why, but it's true. For the exact same reason that sandwiches taste better when someone else makes it for you. Science. Thanks for the award. New internet friend. Sandwiches are important. Bitch. Victoria's Secret was originally supposed to be a place for men to buy lingerie for their wives and not feel embarrassed. But now it's almost exclusively shopped at by women. Really? It was a pretty revolutionary idea. Roy Raymond sold it for $1 million in 1982 and threw himself off the Golden Gate Bridge in 1993. Ha, wonder why he went and did that. Depression, I guess. Not many problems out there that can't be solved with a million buckaroos. Edit. I've seen the answer a number of times now. Thanks all. His widow suspected depression as a result of a series of business failures. Raymond used the $1 million from selling to fund new business ventures, all of which failed and forced him either to file bankruptcy or sell at a loss to settle financial disputes. Meanwhile, Victoria's Secret grew from the $1 million 5-store operation to be worth $500 million by the time of Raymond's death. Heels, if I remember correctly. That's correct. High heels were originally made for butchers to wear, who were mostly men, so that they could keep their feet clean of any blood from slaughtering animals. It's worth pointing out that, while this is true, they were more of the block heel type, you know. For anyone who's now thinking of ancient Egyptian butchers walking around wearing black leather duck-me stilettos. Skirts used to be worn in battle by men for more room to move around. I'm imagining a bunch of soldiers in a World War holding rifles. You mean like an army of Scots in kilts? Now I'm turned on. Thanks. Look up the ladies from hell. Is this how Family Feud gets new questions and answers? Show me breaking the fourth wall. Ding. Hello? 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 The Ford Mustang. It was supposed to be a car with a big trunk you could fit all the groceries in it. There was even an ad or article stating that you can own a Mustang that matches the color of your lipstick. Makes sense why a lot of old Mustangs are red. I think Mustangs are still probably one of the more popular sports cars for women, even though a lot of men drive them as well. I'm not a car fanatic, but I like to look at cars and ask people what they drive, talk about how different cars feel to drive. This is only to preface my anecdotal experience that almost every Mustang owner I know is a lady, and also almost every single one of them is in debt and in medical school. It's a really weird niche. Be happy you don't live near a military base then. Full of 19-year-olds driving Mustangs, Chargers and other ME2s, and they are all V6 with excellent double-digit interest rate loans. Hitachi Magic Wand. It was originally manufactured for relieving tension and relaxing sore muscles, often used by athletes, but now is famous for its use as a sex toy industrial strength vibrator. And now they relieve tension and relax the whole body instead of one muscle. Upgrades people. Upgrades. For me, they relieve tension and relax the whole body by stimulating one muscle. The clit is a muscle, the prostate is. Edit. Apparently a gland is not a muscle, but the prostate is. Partially. Pink and blue were originally considered colors for boys and girls, respectively. I've heard this, but I never bothered to see when and why it changed. All babies and toddlers wore dresses. Baby blue related to the Virgin Mary is my understanding, and red was manly apparently, so pink was the childish version of manly red. Isn't it something to do with royalty? Purple was the most expensive luxurious color, so the king wore purple and the princes would be in lighter shades to show the royal color but imply a slightly lower rank. So pink. Yes. In ancient Rome the amount of red, or magenta I guess, in your robe was a sign of status. It was really hard to make and very expensive. Since almost only men were rich, only they could afford to show it off with expensive colors. And I think there was a thing about women not owning things. It all legally belonged to their husbands. So good luck getting clothes that showed a status as high as a man's. Ugg boots were originally worn by male surfers, with their girlfriends stealing and wearing them like they were a leather jacket. Edit. I have been educated by my Aussie friends that they're worn by all down under, as slippers and such. I was speaking of their history here in the US, where they were mostly introduced by surfers on the west coast and now they are almost exclusively worn by women here. I never got Uggs as a concept. Aren't they terrible with water? How TF are they winter wear? Edit. I have been sufficiently informed that they were created in Australia. My bafflement is their continued use in the same form in snow-prone countries. I believe in Australia, where they originate, they were made more as like house slippers. So I do think their original intention was to be worn outside. Can confirm. I'm wearing them now. They're basically the posh version of slippers and super comfortable. Shaving razors were made for men, but women shave a good bit more now, both in frequency and surface area. Area yes. Frequency EHH. I drunkenly shaved my legs a month ago and my friend was shocked I would have had to shave the next day if I wanted to stay smooth. She only shaves like twice a week and is always smooth. I'm so jealous of people like that. If I shave my legs at night, they're prickly by lunch the next day. Edit. Thanks for all the replies. I should have mentioned, despite this, I only shave like once every 1-2 weeks lol. I mostly just shave the really thick area of hair around my ankles because I hate the feeling of it rubbing up against my work boots and getting tangled in my wool socks. I get prickly so quick my husband asked me to stop shaving. I did and no one noticed. Ha 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 ha. My husband gets in bed and asks if I am trying to be more like my dog. I roll my eyes and put on pants. Fuck you. Haha. Makeup. Also primarily worn by wealthy men back in the day. Makeup for both sexes is as old as civilization. They had to make up for it. Filtered cigarettes in general, but Marlboro made the biggest leap in terms of gendered marketing. Once that whole conspiracy theory came out that like cigarettes are IDK bad for you or something and more people switched to filtered cigarettes. It's filtered. That means it's good for you. Was around the time that the salt of the earth classic American Marlboro Man came into existence, trying to distance the brand from its previously woman-focused advertisements. Marlboro Reds referenced the color of the filter, which was red so that it wouldn't show lipstick. Kinda funny that reds are considered manly now, and women are more likely to smoke the lights which have white filters. Interesting. Is like an example of marketing intention versus context. Marlboro Reds wanted to make lipstick marks invisible, but TV and cinema romanticized the lipstick mark, so lipstick and a white filter became symbolism for sex. Those leg stirrups they use at the gynecologist were invented for removing kidney bladder stones in men. They used to cut from below the testicles and cut right through the prostate. It had a very low survival rate and was not approved by the medical profession. The original Hippocratic Oath had a section on not cutting for stone, meaning they swore not to surgically remove the stones because of it. They later removed that section of the oath. Otherwise a bunch of urologists would be out of a job. Bladder stones, not kidney stones. To get to a kidney stone through the taint you would be elbow deep in the patient. I believe you just found the reason the survival rate was so low. A stone is a stone, right? S. A stone by any other name would pass just as painfully. Holding doors for a plea. Woman was supposed to hold the door for a man so he could check for any dangers in the building. The thought was mainly for married couples, but it could be done to a total stranger as well. At some point it flipped and turned to just being a polite thing to do. The theory I heard was that women began to enter first to make sure the man didn't have any enemies in the room because they wouldn't shoot her. Something related to the mafia. Interesting. Wristwatches. They were made because most women didn't have pockets for pocket watches. Now I pretty much just see men wear them, though they've started to fall out of style. Edit. Alright, I've had about 500 people tell me wristwatches are suing right now. I get it. You think they've fallen out of style? I feel like there's a huge resurgence of interest in wristwatches stemming from trends like the G-Shock and Apple Watch in younger people. I casually mentioned that I liked the Hulk Rolex in a college class and it started a big conversation between like 15 guys about high-end watches out of nowhere. Young dudes still like watches. We just can't afford them. I've worn a watch since I was 8 years old. Right now, it's a $40 G-Shock with a 10-year battery and 200 meters water resistance. I like it because I don't have to worry about it. I know my phone shows the time, but the convenience of having the time on your wrist is major. I once broke my strap, and for a week or two had to use my phone for the time, and the hassle was really noticeable. I've been leaving my watch at home lately so I don't have to worry about cleaning it. Still scared of corona. And I can't tell you how many times I've looked down at my wrist, realized my watch isn't there, and then sighed before popping my phone out of my pocket. DHT cream. They sell it for use as penis enlarging cream, which it doesn't do because men already have high levels of DHT in their bloodstream. However, it does actually make clits permanently larger. AskReddit is about that. You really do learn something new every day. Not only am I just amazed, but everyone in that sub just seems to be really factual and supportive. Good for them. I remember reading somewhere that Kleenex was made for ladies to remove their makeup, but their husbands were blowing their noses in them. And now we all blow our noses in them. That's not all I blow in them. Get a load off this guy. I just came for the jokes. Automatic cars. They were made for women because it was believed women couldn't or wouldn't be able to use a stick shift, that it was too complicated for them. My ex-girlfriend had to deal with that shit a lot. She worked at a place that loaded cars onto trains and people would tell her, that car is a manual. We'll get someone else to move it. She'd just grab the keys, hop in and say, why? Before driving off. Every car she's ever owned has been a manual. She's a ducking pro. This must be in North America. In most parts of the world everyone at least learns on a manual transmission. I know that in the UK if you take the test in an automatic you have to retake it in a manual if you want to drive them. My mum and I got into an argument about this when I wanted to rent a car in the UK since I only had a US license and she assumed that meant I could only drive an automatic. Nope, mum. I learned in a manual. Your manual. Same in the Netherlands. The default driving license, B, is stick. Automatic B78 is the exception. When I was learning how to drive, my driving school had 14 manuals and a grand total of 1 automatic, which the instructors lovingly called Edge Automat, Eddie Automatic. While people do attach a stigma to driving an automatic, especially if you're a guy, since men seem to be culturally obliged to always take the hardest way out, driving instructors don't. They appreciate that driving actually isn't very easy at all. I've got executive functioning issues which made driving stick difficult. I have a B78 license and am thus legally banned from driving stick. If I want to drive stick I'll have to take more driving lessons and redo the exam. Even now I'm not good at driving and don't like to do so. Driving legitimately is fun, especially driving a manual. But the problem is there's traffic on the road. If I drive for 2 hours I'm exhausted. Driving legitimately is fun, especially driving a manual. But the problem is there's traffic on the road. I held out for a long time before doing driving lessons. A few years ago, when I was 42, I finally humored my mother and took 10 hours of driving lessons. I know exactly what you mean when you say driving is fun. But the problem is there's traffic on the road. I spent 10 hours learning how to operate a 2-ton plastic and metal death bullet, sometimes surrounded by trucks, buses, cars, and motorbikes, with a closing speed of more than 160 km per hour. I didn't know what the physics were with a moving vehicle. I didn't know what the turning circle was at different speeds, or the braking distance, or how the grip changed in the wet, or anything. I was just glad in the end that I didn't crash or kill anyone, myself included. Driving is fun, on a racetrack, or when the roads are empty, but driving amongst traffic is a ducking nightmare, especially for someone with as little faith in human nature as I have. Not literally sex related, but I'd say the MLP fandom, made for little dainty girls, used by old fat guys. Hey, stop excluding the skinny old guys and the young fat guys, and the brinnies who have become trans women or white supremacists. And I guess the 17 trans white supremacist Pegasistas that almost certainly exist. You know, there are definitely a lot more trans white supremacist Pegasistas out there than 17. God, I wish I didn't know this. Serious question. How can that be? Cigarettes. They were designed for women, to be a more feminine version of a cigar. The name, literally, cigarette, like bachelorette, deleted. It's actually from French, used specifically for feminine nouns. Toad and toadette comes to mind. Crop tops, a football thing. Initially, like young Johnny Depp in Nightmare on Elm's. Voting in the United States. I glanced over and misread the title as what's something that was designed for sex but is now used for something else. Same. Fedoras and trilby hats. Both hats are named for the fictional women who wore them. Now they are worn by gross neckbeards in combination with the cheapest black leather duster and katana they can afford. Hey, my katana was over $100 at the mall, dude, call me cheaper, game dare you. Hey, that's what I thought. I once saw some dudes buy a katana at a gas station. Neckbeard levels over 9,000. It seems predominantly isn't quite understood in its meaning. It's, what's the difference? But for jumping on the downvoting train, I was just asking a question. Reddit. Downvote no more. It's is a contraction of it is or it has. It's is a possessive form. This whole thread makes you realize how many things are pointless legended. Birth colors were originally swapped, with soft blue representing femininity and a deep pink to represent masculinity. Deep red was masculine, color of blood, so blood didn't show that much, but of course became light pink due to washing, which was why oink was a man's color, before it switched, which was why oink was a man's color. Love this. Don't fix it. Not specifically for one gender, but maxi pads came about because nurses in World War I started using the wound packing pads for their periods. Prior to that, women mainly used homemade washable rags, hence the saying on the rag. Yoga, only for men. Now it's just women. It's still for everybody. Just so happens to be like 98% women, which makes it a pretty decent place to pick up women. Scratch that. To be picked up by women. Is that how it works? I was always kind of afraid to try it because I was worried I'd look like a creep. I mean, go for the class. Be respectful. Don't ask gays. Don't try to force conversation with people. Just enjoy the class. Eventually, somebody is going to talk to you themselves. We're social creatures. Whatever you do, don't go for the sole purpose of mingling with women in a female-heavy environment. That is what makes you look like a creep. Lager. When lager was invented, it was pitched towards women. It was superior to beer in ways that it was thought women would like. It was filtered, purer in taste, easy on the palate, and designed to emerge from the bottle like champagne, pale, clear, bubbly, frothy. Women didn't take to it, but it's now, mainly, drunk by men all over the world. Just don't tell that gang of skinheads that they're drinking something that was originally a woman's drink. This does not sound plausible. Do you have a source for this? Lager beers have been around since the 1400s, and use a different type of yeast that thrives at colder temperatures. You no idea where they got this info. It's wrong. Yoga was invented by men for men, but for some reason it's mostly women who gravitate towards it, at least in the West. Many men are too afraid to try it, which is a shame because yoga is enjoyable. I really enjoy it and it has a lot of benefits. I'm pretty sure yoga was a religious thing for Hindu people. Most fashion inspired by military uniforms, mostly men, are usually worn by women. Combat boots, epaulets on shoulders, olive drab jackets, berets, etc. Women look sexy wearing them, while most guys, Look stupid. I feel like this is more easily explained by expectation of rarity. If a guy wore those things, that's just some dude dressing up in uniform. That's not uncommon. A woman in uniform, however, is fairly uncommon. Bro, you actually watched the whole video. I'd give you a high five if I was a human. Make sure to click the like button and subscribe for more great content. See you next time.